Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and I've got a fresh breakdown for you of the new update for the Nioh 3 demo, the one that just went live as version 1.02.02, and I'm going to walk you through all the changes, tweaks, improvements, and bug fixes that Team Ninja has rolled out so you know exactly what's been going on behind the scenes and how it's going to affect your experience in the demo. So let's just get into it and talk about what this patch actually does and why it matters for both casual players and those of you grinding every last bit of progression out there. First off, this update is a pretty hefty one in terms of combat balance and bug fixes. They've taken a close look at how martial arts work in the demo and made a bunch of adjustments to make things feel more consistent and fair across a bunch of different weapons. For example, they've tweaked how the living artifact state interacts with martial arts, lowering some of the elemental damage while also limiting how many times certain abilities can be used consecutively when that state is active. What that means in practice is the game should feel less spammy and more strategic when you're powering up, so you're not just stacking crazy damage without any trade-offs. Some of the specific martial arts themselves have gotten love too. Weapons like the sword have had moves like Swallow's Wing boosted in power, and dual blades got buffs to skills like Raijin and Water Sword 2, which was already strong but now feels even more impactful. The axe also received some adjustments, with Victory Rush getting increased power so it hits harder and leaves more of an impression when you pull it off. And it's not just the samurai weapons that got attention. Ninja archetypes saw updates as well. Tonfa moves such as Wild Lines got a slight increase to launch speed, even though they dialed back the key damage a bit, and hatchet attacks like Chain Hurl, Biting Hail, Dragonfly, and Dual Hawks were all given power increases so they're more satisfying and effective in combat. Kusarigama and split staff techniques like Black Vines and Radiant Moon also got stronger, which will definitely improve the feel of those weapons in longer fights. Now, beyond balance, what's been fixed is honestly impressive in scope. There were a ton of little combat bugs that were making certain inputs feel inconsistent, or even blocking actions you'd expect to work normally. Stuff like the second aerial jump not registering correctly during Flying Chariot with the Tonfa was addressed, and issues where you couldn't chain attacks after certain moves have been patched up as well. They even fixed situations where enemies' resistances weren't being applied properly for status effects like blindness. So now what you see happening on screen actually matches with what's meant to happen. That's a big deal when you're trying to plan your fights and figure out patterns. There were some weird edge cases too that got knocked out, like burst breaks accidentally hurting the player instead of the enemy, or toggles for grapple and martial arts not working right against yokai with some weapons. Fixes like these might not seem huge at first glance, but for anyone who's spent time trying to break down an enemy's behavior or nail that perfect combo, these make the whole experience feel smoother and more intentional. Enemies themselves also got some quality of life adjustments. For instance, the number of Kappa appearing in the Warring States area was bumped up so encounters feel a bit more dynamic, and you're not just running through the same handful of foes over and over. They patched some boss behavior too, stopping characters like Jakotsu Baba from occasionally jumping out of the arena, which could totally break the rhythm of a fight and force resets, or weird positioning. There were also fixes to spawned enemies like Thorned Gaki. The game was incorrectly counting their defeat toward the Gaki chief's tally, and that has now been corrected, so progression feels fair and consistent. Multiplayer aspects were not forgotten either. A couple of especially annoying bugs where players would fall through the map or get stuck in infinite loading screens after ending multiplayer sessions have been taken care of, which is huge if you enjoy co-op play. They also addressed occasional crashes when selecting options like Become a Visitor, as well as issues where losing a connection could result in losing half of your Amrita, which is the last thing anyone wants happening midway through a match or hunt. And another nice fix was making sure non-friends no longer show up in friend slots when summoning visitors. A small detail, but one that helps keep multiplayer interactions cleaner and easier to manage. UI and photo mode problems were fixed up too. If you've been playing on PS5 or PC and trying to use photo mode, you might have run into issues where camera tweaks or exposure changes weren't applying correctly. Those have been ironed out, so capturing great shots of intense battles or scenic open fields should now work the way you expect.